Can you guys hear me? People who are in online,
Yes,
if yes, please type why on it.
yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So in today's session, right, let me just quickly go ahead and create a document. Okay, so in today's session, right, let me just create. Okay. So in today's session, right, what we are going to see here is in last session, let me just quickly recap that what we have done in our last session. So in last session, right, we had seen how to create a test in Playwright. How do we create a test in Playwright? And then we had seen how to execute. And then we had seen how to execute. How do we execute a test? How you can execute a test in Playwright. Test in Playwright. Okay. A test in Playwright. Okay. So now we'll quickly recap it and then we'll continue with our current topics. So normally, right, whenever you are opening your VS Code, okay, if I need to write a test script, okay, so first a little bit basic. So if I need to test an application, right, an application can contain multiple features. Each feature will have multiple functionalities. So if I need to test a feature, right, we actually create a test suite. Okay, and if I need to test a functionality, right, we actually identify different scenarios that we actually tested. Scenarios which actually helps us to test that particular functionality. And now, right, if I need to test a scenario, right, again, I need to identify different conditions. Those conditions are nothing but what we actually call it as the test cases. And for every test case, right, we actually write test steps. And for every step, right, if it is required, we also prepare a test data. And finally, we actually perform verification and validation. So based on this verification and validation, right, we will update whether that particular test case got passed or failed. Now, if you see here, right, if I need to create a test in Playwright, okay, if I need to create a test in Playwright, we have multiple ways to create it. One way is you can write in a descriptive way. Means you can write your code and you can create a test, or else you can use a recorder, which is nothing but a code gen, which is inbuilt provided in your Playwright, or else you can use a Playwright extension, or else you can use Playwright Google Chrome extension. Okay, Playwright Google Chrome extension through which you can perform action, through which you can generate a test script. So first way here is you just go to your Playwright project. Now whenever you are going to create any files, right, we actually create under to this particular test folder. So under to test folder, right, I'm simply saying these as examples. I have created a folder with name called examples. Under to test folder, if I need to create, right, you need to select this test folder and you need to click on this folder icon and you can create examples set to. In this way, right, you can create any number of folders. Now, whenever you are going to create a test, right, you need to create a file and that file name is sample12.spec.js. You can create any file, but that file should have extension called spec.js. That file should have extension called spec.js. And if I want to create a test, I need to write a test block. Okay, now under to this particular test block, right, I need to pass two parameters. One is nothing but the test name. Let us say I am passing a test name, and the second one is nothing but the anonymous function. Where I need to actually write like this. What it means, a function without a name is nothing but what we actually call it as anonymous function. But whenever you're writing a test block, right, you should also make sure that you are importing it. You are importing it from your Playwright. You are actually importing that particular test from your Playwright/test. So if I need to use this test block, right, this is the import statement that how you actually write your, how you are importing a test, from Playwright. Now here, right, the syntax is like whenever you are going to write it, right, you need to write with async. You need to make that particular function as async. And whatever the lines of code that you write, okay, whatever the lines of code that you write, that code should be always prefixed with await. That code should be always prefixed with await. So this is the syntax, that how you actually write a Playwright test. And normally, right, console.log represents, it is like a print statement. For example, if I want to print something on my console, we will use the system.out.println. Right? In the same way, if I want to print something on my console using in JavaScript, right, we actually write console.log. So this is nothing but if you are writing a test case, you need to follow this approach. And here, right, we actually write all the the test steps, all the test steps. It means you are going to write the steps through which you are able to perform actions. Okay. So now if I want to run this particular test, how do we run it? It is very simple. I need to write npx playwright test. And if I need to run it using test name, then I need to write name 11. And then you need to mention if I want to, and then if you run it, right, it will actually execute that particular test. Then it is going to print that on your console. See, it has executed three times because if you go to playwright config.js, right, here I am using all the three browsers. Now let us say if I comment this to, it will run defaultly on Chrome browser. So if you're running it, right, it will run defaultly on Chrome browser. So it has executed only one test and it got printed. Whatever the code that you had written, right, in your system, in your console.log, right, that got printed on your console. So this is one way to do it. Now the second way here is you can also record your test script. Means you can also record your test script by directly performing actions on your application. For that, right, you need to type npx playwright and you need to write code then. So it will actually launch Playwright recorder. So if you see, right, this is your Playwright recorder. Okay, this is your Playwright recorder. And where you can actually perform. For example, I want to open google.com site. And then I want to search for Playwright. 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 Now, if you see, right, it is actually showing that you are a robot. I mean, it is actually asking you to confirm it. So you are getting this particular screen. Okay. So if you see here, right, now, if you go back and if you open your recorder, you can see that the script got generated in your recorder. Now copy this code. So what you can do is you can simply copy this particular code and you need to go back to your VS Code. And here, right, under to these examples, I'm just creating a file with name called recorder spec.js. And here I'm just copying that particular code. And just right after typing a Playwright, I want to check whether it has typed Playwright or not. For that, right, what I am doing is I'm just giving await page dot and I'm just asking my script to wait for a certain amount of time. I'm simply saying await page dot timeout. What in a page dot wait for timeout? So I'm asking my script to wait for 5 milliseconds. 5 seconds. So 5,000 milliseconds. So if I want to run this particular test, let me give a unique name for it. Now, if I want to run that particular test, right, close your code gen, and then I need to write npx test test 23 headed mode, so that it will be executed in headed mode. So if you see, right, it has opened Google and it has typed Playwright, and it is waiting for 5 seconds because I had given wait time of 5 seconds. I had given wait time of 5 seconds. So this is how you are able to record it using your code gen, and you are able to run it. It is very simple. If I need to open code gen, right, I need to run command called npx playwright code gen. So it will automatically open a browser and as well as a recorder. It automatically opens the browser and as well as a recorder. And if you see, right, the default mode of that particular code gen is in recording mode. If you click on it, it will stop recording. If you click on it, it will be in recording mode. And this, right, is also called as inspector. For example, if I need to inspect some element on an application, you need to open your inspector, click on this, and I can inspect an element. So that will show you the locator, how you are able to locate that particular element. You can also inspect locators using this inspector. And then, right, if you see, right, you will also have a copy symbol from where you can copy that particular code, and you can also paste that in any file. We have some other options as well that we will see. But as of now, right, you need to understand this record button, this inspector. Okay, and the screen, the window, right, that what it is getting open, right, this is nothing but what we actually call it as code gen, Playwright recorder. And if you are performing any action on your application, that will be recorded. If you see, right, that is getting recorded. First I clicked on search box and then I typed on Selenium. So that script will be recorded as part of your recorder. So if you see, right, it is actually recording it. As part of your recorder. Or else, if you see, right, it is actually checking for this link to be visible. In the same way, if I want to check for some text, you can highlight it. So it will also add that assertion that you are actually waiting. Assert contains. So you are actually waiting for that particular text. So it is showing that it is actually waiting for that particular text which contains short videos. Anyway, that we will see in our upcoming classes. As of now, right, just remember, if I need to write a Playwright script, right, we have multiple ways to write it. One way is you can write it, or else you can use recorder code gen, or else you can use Google Chrome extension. Now, the third way that how you are able to write your script is nothing but you just close your code gen. So Control C on your terminal, it will close your code gen. Now, what you need to do here is you need to open your Google Chrome browser. And then you need to type here Playwright, and then you need to type here Playwright extension for Chrome. Playwright extension for Chrome. So you will automatically get it. So you will automatically get the Playwright CRX. So you need to click on this particular link. So you will be redirecting to this particular page where you will get an option called Add to Chrome. If you click on this Add to Chrome, right, you will get a pop-up called Add Extension. So you need to click on Add Extension. Then it will automatically add the Playwright Chrome extension to your browser. Now what you need to do here is you need to go to your extensions. You need to click on your Playwright CRX. You will get this recorder. Now, in the same way how you have done it in your code gen, right, you can simply type google.com. You can simply type google.com. And then whatever the actions that you want to perform, let us say I want to search for Playwright. I can simply say Playwright and press enter. So if you see, right, it actually recorded the script, what actions that you had performed as part of your Playwright, as part of your application. So again, in the same way, right, you can copy this and again you can create a script. Now under to this particular examples, right, I'm creating another file, and let us say I'm saying that Chrome recorder dot spec.js, and I'm able to copy that particular text, and then right, I'm adding one statement like await, and I'm asking my script to wait for 5 seconds. This is like blind wait. If I want to make my script to wait blindly for 5 seconds, right, I need to use page.wait for timeout. Page.wait for timeout. So now if you go back and if you see here, right, and if you're running that particular test, let us say I'm giving that particular test name as 1-2. So if I want to run that particular test, I need to use -G and I need to specify that the test name so that it will be executed. So now if you see, right, again it is opening your Chrome browser, and then it is actually opening google.com site, and then it is actually performing search. But your Google is not allowing you to automate it, right? So you are getting that screen. But if you are running this on any test website, right, you can automatically write a script to perform that functionality, and you can test it using your automation script. You can test it using your automation script. Okay, so this is how that you are going to generate a script. Means if I need to generate a Playwright script, right, I have 3 ways to do it. I can write it, or else I can use recorder CodeGen, or else I can use Playwright Google Chrome extension, and you can generate script. Now, very simple. For example, now I need to test a functionality. Okay, now let us say I want to search clear trip site itself. Now I need to search a clear trip site itself. Now under the clear trip, right, you have a lot of functionalities, like you have flights is a feature, you have bus booking as a feature, we have trains as a feature, we have hotels as a feature, and we have packages as a feature. Now under to each feature, right, again we can have multiple functionalities. Let us say if you see flights, right, under to flights, you have SEARCH, search flights is nothing but one of the functionality. Cancel flight is nothing but one of the functionality. Getting history is nothing but one of the functionality. Adding selecting a flight. Selecting a flight is nothing but one of the functionality. Adding passengers is nothing but one of the functionality. Or else replan your trip. It means you can postpone or prepone it. Or else you need to complete payment. That is one of the functionality. So you have a lot of functionalities which should be tested. And for every functionality, right, for example, if you see search flight, right, first you will test with valid. And then you are going to test with only mandatory fields. And then you are going to check without entering mandatory fields. Without entering mandatory fields. So these are like different conditions that you need to test as part of this particular functionality. Okay, now if I'm testing these conditions, right, these are called as test cases. If I need to test these conditions, right, I need to follow some steps. Those are called as test steps. Now, whenever you're going to perform these test steps, right, means you are indirectly performing actions on elements. So whenever I'm going to perform actions on elements, first you need to understand what do you mean by elements, or what do you mean by objects on your application. So whenever you open any application, now let us say I am trying to open my google.com site. So now let us say I am closing this Playwright recorder. Now I am just opening google.com site. So whenever you open your application, right, if you see anything that you are seeing on your application is nothing but what we actually call it as an element or object. So if you see right here, you are able to see about, this is an element, store is an element, Google logo is an element, this edit box is an element, this Google search button is an element, this I am feeling is an element, these links are all elements. Whatever you see in the footer, right, like India, advertising, business, how search works, all these are nothing but elements like Gmail, images, these nine digit, 9 dot button, everything that you see on your application, right, we call it as element or object. So, for example, if I need to click on this particular about, that click is nothing but action. But if I need to click on this about, right, first I need to locate this about and then I need to perform action called click. So if I need to locate any element on my application, how your Playwright locates it. So you need to understand. So if I need to perform action, means it means very simple. If you see here, right, let me just scroll down. Normally, right, if you want to learn automation, testing, right, majorly, whatever the tool that you use, you need to majorly understand how you are going to locate an element, how you are going to perform action on it, and how you are going to perform validations. How you are going to perform validation. Locating, if I need to locate an element, right, then only I can perform action. If you are performing some group of actions, right, then only you are going to check your expected value is equal with your actual value. It means you are updating by doing validation, right? You are confirming whether it got passed or failed. Whether it got passed or failed. Now, first, you need to understand how do we locate elements. How do we locate elements in Playwright? How do we locate elements in Playwright? Now, in Playwright, right, if I need to locate elements, if it is in any UI automation tool, if you are automating it using any UI automation tool, actually that tool locates elements using backend HTML code. Backend HTML code. The backend HTML code. This backend HTML code is also called as page source. Is also called as page source. And this is also called as DOM. DOM means document object model. DOM means document object. DOM means document object model. So people write call with different names. If I need to locate an element, right, you can use the backend HTML code of that particular page to locate it. Which is nothing but what we actually call it as a page source, which is nothing but what we actually call it as a DOM model, which is nothing but document object model. Now, if you see any application, now let us say I am saying this google.com site, right? If you right click on your application, you will have an option called inspect. You will have an option called inspect. So if you click on inspect, right, the below part that what you are seeing, right, this is called as developer tools. And you are able to see the backend HTML code written for that particular page here. Now, in that particular developer tools, right, if you see at the left-hand side corner, you have a square with arrow symbol. If you click on it, right, this is called as inspector, through which you can inspect the backend HTML code written for the particular element. For example, I want to get the backend HTML code for Gmail. If you click on it, right, you can see the backend HTML code written for Gmail. If I click onto this particular edit box, this is the backend HTML code written for that particular edit box. If I click onto this particular about, this is the backend HTML code written for that particular element. So if you want to inspect any element backend HTML code, you can use this inspector and you can see the backend HTML code written for that particular element. Now, normally, if you are using any UI automation tools, right, it actually uses this backend HTML code to locate those elements on your application. So how it locates? Now, first you need to understand a little bit basics on that HTML. So for example, if I'm inspecting this Gmail, this is the backend HTML code. If you right click onto that particular HTML code, what you will see here is you will see copy and you need to copy that particular element. Now, if you copy that particular element, right, now if you see, right, I have copied this particular element. Now, this is the backend HTML code. In this, right, the A, that what you see, that A is nothing but what we actually call it as a tag name. And whatever that you see till here, right, till here, like from less than symbol to this greater than symbol, this is called as a starting tag. Okay, this is called as a starting tag. And if you see, this Gmail is nothing but what we are actually calling it as the text of that particular element. If you see /a, this is nothing but what we actually call it as ending tag of that particular element. It is nothing but what we actually call it as a ending tag of that particular element. And if you see in starting tag, right, you have class is equal to, area label is equal to, data hyphen PID is equal to, all these are nothing but what we actually call it as attributes, or what we actually call it as the properties, or what we actually call it as the properties of that particular element. We call them as attributes or properties of that particular element. Now, whenever I want to locate some element, right, I can use any of these values to locate that particular element. So this is like some basic, you should understand some basic things on HTML code. If I say element, anything that you see on your application UI is called as element or object. And for every element on your application UI, right, you can see backend HTML code for it. If you see, right, the highlighted, this is nothing but the backend HTML code for store. If you click on this, this is nothing but the backend HTML code for about. And if you click on this, this is the backend HTML code for logo. If you click on this, this is the backend HTML code for the text area. If you click on this inspector and if you click on it, this is the backend HTML code for it. And the backend HTML code will have a tag name. Here, right, the tag name is dev. If you see this one, right, here the tag name is text area. And if you see this about, right, here the tag name is anchor tag. And if you see this images, right, here the tag name is A. What you know? And if you see, right, every element, right, again, it has a starting tag, text is nothing but Gmail, /a is nothing but ending tag. And whatever the values that you see in your HTML code, in your starting tag, like class is equal to, area label is equal to, data hyphen PID is equal to, and H reference is equal to, target is equal to, all these are called as attributes or properties. Attributes are properties. And if you see, right, when you see any element, right, it has some path. It is present under to certain hierarchy. That hierarchy is nothing but what we actually call it as X path of that particular element. But hierarchy is nothing but what we actually see. If you see, right, this anchor tag is present in this dev tag. This dev is present in this dev tag. This dev is present in this header tag. And this header is present in this dev tag. So whenever you see, right, whenever you're trying to inspect some element, right, that element is present under to certain hierarchy. The path of that particular element in the backend HTML code is nothing but what we actually call it as X path. What we actually call it as X path. So anyway, now the first thing here, right? So now you got some idea on HTML code, right? Now, if I want to locate any element in Playwright, right? In Playwright, you can use the XPath to locate it. You can use the CSS value to locate it, or else you can use inbuilt locators which are available in Playwright, through which you can locate that particular element. Now, if you see XPath, right? XPath indicates a path of that particular element in backend HTML code. In the backend HTML code, it indicates it indicates path of that particular element in the backend HTML code. Now, under to this particular XPath, right? Again, you have two types. You have two types. What are those two types? Means the first one is nothing but what we actually call it as relative XPath. And second one is nothing but what we actually call it as absolute XPath. First one is nothing but what we actually call it as relative XPath, and second one is nothing but what we actually call it as absolute XPath. If your XPath is starting with a dot or a double slash, we call it as relative. If your XPath is starting using HTML root node, we call that as absolute XPath. And this relative XPath, right? We normally in our real practice, right? We actually use this relative XPath to locate an element. And in this relative XPath, right? Again, we can also write an XPath and evaluate it. So if you are writing, right, that is called as a customized XPath. If you are writing it, right, that is called as a customized XPath. So whenever you want to capture XPath, we have different ways. We have different ways to capture it. First way here is You can use your developer tools to capture XPath. You can use your developer tools to capture XPath, or else you can use Chrome plugins. Chrome plugins, like Chrome plugins. You can use Chrome plugins like selector sub, and you can also capture XPath. Or else you can also use Chrome plugin called CrowPath, and you can also capture XPath. We have multiple ways to capture XPath. Or else you can simply say, if I want to capture locators, right, we have multiple ways. One way is you can use your developer tools to capture your locators. You can use selector sub. It is nothing but a plugin through which you can capture your locators. Or else third way is you can use your Playwright inspector. Your Playwright inspector to capture locator values of that particular element. Now, in Playwright, right, whenever you are going to locate any element, you can use the XPath, you can use the CSS value, or else you can use inbuilt locators, which are available in Playwright to locate that particular element. So, as I said, right, XPath means it is nothing but a path of that particular element. If I say XPath means it is nothing but path of element in a backend HTML code. In backend HTML code, it is nothing but path of that particular element in the backend. It is nothing but path of that particular element in the backend HTML code. And then the CSS. CSS means cascading style sheets. Cascading style sheet. Or else your Playwright will also have inbuilt locators. You can also use those locators through which you can locate it. So you have some inbuilt locators. So if you go to your Google Chrome, and if you just type here Playwright inbuilt locators, so you can also locate element using this Playwright inbuilt locators. Like you can locate it using by role, you can locate it using by text, you can locate it using by label, you can locate it using by placeholder. You can locate an element using its alt text. You can locate its element using get title. You can locate its element using test ID. So these are like some inbuilt locators which are available in Playwright, through which also you can locate an element. Through which you can also locate an element. Through which you can also locate an element. But also now if you are now it means whenever I want to locate an element, right, I can use any of these ways. I can use XPath, I can use CSS, or else I can use inbuilt locators for Playwright. So now if you see, right, as I said, right, for example, if I go to this particular application, which is nothing but your Chrome browser, if I go to your Chrome browser and I'm opening google.com site, the first step is if you right click and if you click on inspect, you will get this developer tool. And if you are able to inspect with this, and if you are clicking on this particular element, right, it will show you the backend HTML code for it. Now, if you right click onto that particular element, and if you go to copy, you will have an option called copy selector, through which you can copy CSS value of that particular element. See, when I'm using the CSS value, right, it is locating only one out of one element on this particular page. And this is the element that got highlighted. Or else if you right click and if you go to copy, and you can also copy XPath. This is going to give you the relative XPath of that particular element. So let me just show you. I want to locate this particular element. Right click, go to copy, and I'm selecting copy XPath. So if you see, right, this is nothing but what we actually call it as relative XPath of that particular element. If your XPath is starting with a double slash or dot, we call that as relative XPath. If you right click onto that particular element, go to copy, and if you're selecting copy full XPath, this is nothing but what we actually call it as absolute XPath. It is starting with HTML root node. It is actually starting with HTML root node. Okay, so for any element, right, you can use your developer tools to capture CSS value or to capture XPath value of that particular element. Now the second way here is you can also use a Playwright inspector. So it's very simple. You go to this extensions, and I'm clicking on that particular Playwright. So I got that particular Playwright. So if I want to get any Playwright, for example, I want to get this locator. So I'm able to locate this particular element using its role. It is a combo box, and the name of that particular box is search. Or else, if I click on this inspector and if I want to locate this Google search, so this is nothing but again, it is also located by role. It is a button, and the name of that particular button is Google search. So that I can use this as a locator to locate that particular element. To locate that particular element. So here, right, the concept is very simple. If I need to locate an element, I can use the XPath, I can use the CSS, or else I can use inbuilt locators, Now, if I want to capture locator value, right, I have three ways to do it. One way is I can use developer tools, okay, or else I can use Playwright. I can use selectors, hub plugin, or else I can use Playwright, inspector, through which you can also get a value, through which you can also capture locator value of that particular element, So if you see, right, developer tools we already seen in browser, right? If you right click and if you click on inspect, you will get developer tools. Second way is you can use this Playwright recorder. Third way is you need to install selector sub. You need to type selector sub so that you will get a selector sub. So click on that particular link. You will be redirecting to this particular page. Here you will have selector sub. So click on install. So it will redirect you to this particular page. Now you need to click on add it to Chrome. So it will actually be added to your Chrome browser. See, actually you will get like this. Once you go to that particular screen, right, you will get add to Chrome. So that you need to click on add to Chrome and you click on add extension. So that will be added. To your application. Now, any application, for example, if I'm going for this google.com site itself, if you go to google.com site, for example, I want to capture XPath for this store element. Just right click on it, you will get a selector sub. You can copy XPath, and this is nothing but XPath of that particular element. Or else if you right click onto that particular element, go to selector sub, copy relative XPath. So this is nothing but the relative XPath of that particular element. So if you right click on any element, and if you go to selector sub and if you copy relative XPath, this is relative XPath of that particular element. Okay, so what I need to do, I need to right click, I need to click on selector sub, I need to click on copy relative XPath, and I need to use, this is nothing but relative XPath of that particular element. Or else you can see selector sub option here. Now, whenever you're inspecting, right? So for example, if I'm inspecting this is nothing but the relative CSS value, relative XPath value, index value. You will get different values to which you can locate that particular element. We normally use relative XPath or relative CSS through which you can locate that particular element. So you can also use this plugin, which is nothing but a selector sub, through which you can capture, for example, if I want to click on this 9-digit button. So this is nothing but relative XPath of that particular element. You can use this copy symbol so that you can use that locator to locate that particular element on your application. So normally, right, see, first step, if I need to automate, right, first I need to locate it. If I need to locate it, right, I need to understand what locators we actually use to locate. So normally in Playwright, right, we use XPath, we use CSS, and as well as we use inbuilt locators. So if I need to capture these locator values, how do we capture it? So it is very simple. You can use the developer tools to capture locators, or else you can use selector sub. You can use the selector sub to locate it, or else you can use Playwright. Playwright inspector to capture locator values. So this is how that you are going to locate it. So very simple. It means if I need to write some automation script, so you need to majorly understand three things here. So what are those means? The first one is nothing but you need to understand how you are going to locate it, how you are going to perform action on that particular element, how you are going to validate it. Then only based upon your validation, you're going to update it as a pass or fail. You're going to update it as pass or fail. So if I need to locate, we had seen how you are going to locate an element. Now the second step is actions. So if I say actions, right, first you need to understand what are list of elements. What are different types of elements? What are different types of elements that you see on your application, that we see on a web application? So very simple. First one is you will see edit boxes. Second one is you will see combo boxes. Okay, third one is you may see buttons. Fourth one is you may see radio button. Fifth one is you may see checkboxes. Next one is you may see links. You may see links. And then you may also see images. You may also see images. Or else you may also see logos. Or else, what else? You may also see drop downs. You may also see list boxes. Okay, and finally, right, you may also see text. So if you see, right, these are like different, and here, right, after combo boxes, buttons, radio button, checkbox, links, images, logos, you may also see date pickers, where you are able to select a date on your application. So if you are able to understand that what are different types of elements on your application and how you are going to perform action on it. For example, if I need to perform action, first I need to locate it, and then I need to perform action on it. So, for example, if you see edit box, what is edit box? See, wherever you are going to type text, if you are able to type only one line of text, that is called as edit box. If you are able to type more than one line as a paragraph, that is called as a combo box. So first step here is edit box. Edit box means, for example, if you go to any application like ClearTrip or something, if you go to any application, if you see, right, wherever you're typing values, for example, here I want to type some value like Hyderabad or something. Here I'm going to type. If you're able to type a single line, it is nothing but what we actually call it as edit box. If you are able to type multiple lines, see, whenever you are going to give review in Google, right, you need to add comments. You will write multiple lines. Or else whenever you are sending an email, in the email, right, you will write multiple lines. Those are called as combo boxes. Now the next criteria. Is what are buttons? So if you see, right, in this particular page, right, this search flights is a button. This is checkbox. If you see, right, if you are able to click on it, it will check. Okay, got it. So if you see here, right, now let us say if I'm going to write here, I'm not giving an invalid, I'm giving an invalid value so that it is not checking. So if you check this, it is checking. If you are unchecking it, right, again it is unchecking. This is called as checkbox. This is called as a button. And if you see, right, these hotels, buses, trains, all these are links. If you click on that link, right, it will redirect you to that particular page. If you see ClearTrip, it is a logo. If you click on logo, right, it will come to your home screen. If you click on this particular logo, right, it will come to your home screen. If you click on these images, it will redirect you to an ad. So it is like, see, if you see, right, this is the text that is getting displayed on your application. These are links. This is like edit box where you are able to enter some value. And if you see, right, this is a date picker where you are able to select some date. This is checkbox. This is a button. This is image. And this is your logo. Whenever you click on logo, right, it will refresh that particular page and it redirects to home page of that particular application. So normally, right, whatever the application that you see, if it is a web application, right, it contains these elements. Like it contains edit box, it contains combo boxes, means edit box and combo box, where here, right, you can enter only one line of text. Here, right, you can enter multiple lines. Buttons means whatever that you see, your Google search is a button, cancel is a button, login is a button. See, wherever you see, right, this search flights is a button. If you go to hotels, search hotels is a button. If you go to buses, The search buses is a button. And all these, right, whatever that you see, these all are nothing but links. This is logo. And if you see, right, where whatever the ads that are getting populated, those are populated as images. If you click on that image, right, it will redirect you to a new page. It is going to redirect you to a new page. It is going to redirect you to a new page. So if you see here, right, now if you see here, right, edit box means where you are able to type one line of text. Combo box means where you are able to type multiple lines of text. Buttons means, you know, right, search flight is a button. Radio button. See, similar to checkbox, right, radio button. If you see here, right, now let me just go here and I'm typing here radio button and press enter. And you need to go to images. So if you see, right, these are radio buttons. So if you see, right, if I want to select 1, 2, 3, if I click on it, right, it will select. So these are called as radio buttons. These are called as radio buttons. And if you see checkboxes means where you are able to select it. So when you are clicking on it, right, it will mark tick mark, right? This is called as checkbox. This is called as checkbox. Means you can have multiple options where you select it, right? It will actually select with a tick mark. This is called as a checkbox. This is called as checkbox. And links, you know, links, right? Any application. For example, if you go and if you open your google.com site, if you go and if you open your google.com site, see here, right, about is a link, store is a link. And if you see here, right, Gmail is a link, images is a link, and Hindi, whatever the languages that you're able to see here, right, all are links. Privacy is a link, term is a link, settings is a link. And what is this? This is an edit box where you're able to type. And if you see, right, this Google search is a button. I am feeling is also a button. I am feeling lucky is also a button. So if you see here, right, you got some idea, right? What is edit box, combo box, button, radio button, checkbox, link, images, logos. And if you see here, right, if I want to select a date, if you click on this, right, you will get a calendar from where you can select a date. This is nothing but what we actually call it as a date picker. So for example, I want to select this date, or else I want to select some date. You can click on this, so you will get a calendar. From that, right, you can select some date. This is nothing but what we actually call it as a date picker. And a drop down, it means it is very simple. In some applications, right, so let me just open the Parabank site. This is a test site where you can do your testing. Now what I am doing here is, if you go, for example, withdraw funds, you'll be redirecting. Okay, it's not going, right? So it is nothing but, let us say I'm creating a registered user. Go and type, what I'm doing here is, I'm saying type 321. Now copy this, and I'm copying the same value, and I'm trying to register with that particular application. My user ID is same, password is same, and this one, and I'm clicking on register. So it got registered. Now I'm clicking on logout. Now if you see, right, I am just going to test321 and I'm giving my password as test321 and click on login. You will be logging into that particular application. Or else, let us say you go back and you just add another one. And again, you try to register with that particular application. Username is same, password is same, and I'm confirming it. Now if you see, right, I have logged into that particular application. So if you click on open an account, you can see these values. Why it is logging out? Okay, anyway, let me log out. And let me just use again 3211 and again 3211 and click on login. So it should log in into that particular application. There is some internal error. That application is down. Okay, let us use some other application where you can see drop downs. So for example, if you go and if you type drop down example for Selenium or Playwright, you will get a lot of examples. So if you type here, right, you will get a lot of examples. You need to scroll down and you need to click on to that particular value. So if you see, right, this is nothing but your site where you are able to select a drop down value. If you see, right, this is drop down where I am able to select one value. From this particular screen. So this is called as a drop down. If you click on it, right, you can select any value from this. This is called as a drop down. If you are able to select multiple values from that particular drop down, for example, I can select this one and I'm able to select another value as well by pressing Control. If I'm able to select multiple values, then we actually call it as a list box. Then we actually call it as a list box. And in any application, right, if you see, right, see, this postal code is a text, the country is a text, the username is a text, the user information is a text. Means you can't perform any action on that particular value. It is like it is only a text information which is getting displayed on your application. That is called as a text. That is called as a text. So you need to understand that how I need to perform actions on these elements. So the blind rule here is whenever you want to type something, whether it can be on edit box or whether it can be on combo box. In Playwright, right, we have a method called type and we also have a method called fill. We also have a method called type and we also have a method called fill. Type right, it is a legacy method. It is a legacy method which is available in Playwright. It is going to get depreciated. It is going to get depreciated in your upcoming releases. In your upcoming releases, it is going to get depreciated in your upcoming releases. It is going to get depreciated in your upcoming releases. And then right, fill method is this is what that we actively using while typing some text on that particular edit box or combo box. And buttons, radio buttons, checkboxes, links, images, logos, date pickers, right? We will use only one method called click. You can use a method called click through which you can perform click action. And if I want to select a value from list box or drop down, then we have a method called select options. And if I want to capture any text, I have a method called text content. This will capture text. And I have a method called get attribute. This will actually capture attribute of that particular element. Get attribute. This is going to capture attribute of that particular element. So if I am saying action means if I'm typing something, clicking on something, or selecting a value from drop down, or clicking a value and selecting a value from date picker, or clicking on button, selecting a radio button, selecting a checkbox, clicking on a link, clicking on an image, clicking on logo. All these are nothing but what we are actually call it as in actions. Means you are going to perform actions on that particular application using these methods. And if you want to capture data, for example, if you want to capture data from application, so whenever you go to any application, right? For example, I am going to google.com site, or else I want to capture this value, that Mercury Interactive. So right click on inspect. And if I want to capture that particular value, right, I need to inspect that particular element. So if you are using this inspector and inspecting that particular element, if you are using this inspector and if you are inspecting that particular element, if you see right in the backend HTML code, it has a TD tag. And in that TD, right, you have a value which is nothing but a confirmation password. If you see right, if this is present in between starting and ending tag, we call that as a text. If I want to capture this, right, I need to use get text method. But for example, if I'm going and if I'm inspecting this element, and this element has input, and this element is an input tag. And if you see right, max length, name, size, type, FID, all these are attributes. If I need to capture any of these values, then I need to use get attribute method. So these are like different methods that what you use to perform actions on your Playwright. To perform actions on your application using Playwright. So now you need to understand one by one method that how you are going to use these methods to perform actions on these elements. So you need to understand now how you are going to perform actions using these elements. Now it is very simple. Now if you go to your application, right? So very simple. What I am going to do here is I am going to examples. I am creating a file. Now this file is nothing but I am simply saying actions.spec.js. Now I want to import. So what I need to say, I am just importing a test because I need to write a test, right? So I have imported this test. Now, once I have imported this particular test, now what I need to do, I need to write a test case. So how do we write a test case in Playwright? You need to write this test block, open and close brace, and here you need to give action. Here I'm saying action example is nothing but my test name, and it has a asynchronous function, and it has an asynchronous anonymous function where we actually write our code, And as I said to you in my previous session, right, whenever you're going to write code, this is the syntax. Means whenever you're going to write a test in Playwright, this is the syntax. You need to write a test. This indicates it is a test case. This is a test name. And this is an anonymous function where it does not have any function name. I need to write async before to that because I want to make that particular function as asynchronous. And then I need to pass page fixer so that I can directly, when it is executing this, right, it will automatically create a browser context and it actually opens a new tab. Now, if I want to locate an element, if I want to locate an element in Playwright, we have a method called locator. So in Playwright, right, if I want to locate some element, we have a method called locator. So how you say find element method in Selenium, right? Find element and find elements. In the same way, right, if I want to locate any specific element, in a Playwright, right, we actually use the locator method. And if I want to locate multiple elements, then we are going to use a double dollar symbol. I'll write some examples, then you'll understand it. It's like find elements. If I want to locate multiple elements, right, we actually use a double dollar symbol through which you are able to locate elements, multiple elements. So anyway, first we will see some examples, then I will write some scenarios. So for example, here if I use a page and if I say go to, okay, and what I need to do, for example, I want to open google.com site. So I can simply say google.com. So this will help me to launch google.com site. As I said, right, whenever you're going to write, you need to write await before to that particular every line of code. So this statement will help you to open google.com site. Now, if I want to locate any element, I need to use await page.locator is the method. And here I need to write my locator. That can be as an XPath CSS locator. Now, for example, if you go back to your application, if it is Google Chrome, let us say I want to locate this particular element. So right click on inspect. You got inspector. I'm inspecting this particular element. Right click on it, go to copy and copy XPath and copy the XPath of that particular element. Now copy this XPath and go and use that in your code. So this is nothing but how you are locating an element. Now on that particular element, right, if I need to type, I need to use the fill method. What I want to type, Playwright. So fill method helps us to type this particular value onto that particular element. Or else the second way is if you don't want to use this fill method, you can also use the type method. But that will be shown in cross mark. It means it is going to get depreciated. So in next releases, right, they may remove this particular method. So you need to actively use only fill method wherever you want to type some value. In the same way, on that particular element, right, for example, if I want to click, then what I need to use? I need to use the click method. If I want to, after typing a value, if I want to clear that value, I have a method called clear. It will actually remove the value that what you have typed onto that particular element. And in the same way, if I want to say await page dot locator, and I need to give some locator here. And here, right, if I want to select any value from drop down, then I need to use the select option, and I need to select that option which I want to select from that particular drop down. And if I want to select multiple elements, as part of my list box, then what I need to do here is I need to use this select option with multiple as an array. It means I can pass these values like this. It means I want to select multiple values from that particular list box. So these are nothing but some methods that you need to remember. These are nothing but some methods you need to remember in your Playwright. So how you are going to select multiple values? You need to use select option. You need to use select option, and if you want to select a single value, you can directly give that in single quotes. If you want to select multiple values, then you need to use an array. Okay, then you need to use an array. So this is how that you are able to select multiple options. Okay, how you are able to select multiple options. So if I want to select any single option, then I need to use, I can use the select option. Or if I want to select multiple options, then I can use, then I need to use, that square bracket with multiple values. It means it is going to select all these values from that particular list box. And if you want to capture data from application, the same. Again, you need to first locate an element, and then what you need to do here is you need to write text content. You are locating an element, and then I need to write text content. So this will help you to capture the text value from that particular element. And if I want to capture attribute value, then after writing this, you need to use get attribute, and here, you need to specify what attribute you need. If you need ID value, you need to write ID. If you need class value, you need to write class. So these are like some basic methods through which you are able to perform actions on your Playwright. So you need to remember it. So this locator, I have just written some dummy value to make sure that you are locating this element. And if you want to type, you need to use fill. If you want to clear the text that you got typed, you need to use clear method. If you want to click on any element, I need to use click method. If you see this click method, whatever the elements that you see, for example, even though it is a button, radio button, checkbox, link, images, logos, date pickers. For all these, you can use dot click method through which you can perform action on it. If it is a drop down or list box, then you need to use select options. Where if I want to select a single value, I need to use this one. If I want to select multiple values, I need to use an array where those values are comma separated. And if I want to capture data from application, I need to use the text content. And if I want to capture attribute value of that particular element, then I need to use get attribute. So you need to remember this checklist. So first step is you need to locate. Second step is you need to perform action. If I need to perform action, first I need to understand what are different types of elements that you see on your application. If you are able to see different types of elements, then you need to understand what type of actions you will perform. In edit box or combo box, you will type, so that I need to use fill method. On button, radio button, checkbox, link, images, logo, date pickers, I need to use the dot click method. On drop down and list box, I need to use select option method. And if I want to capture data from application, I need to use the text content method. If I want to get an attribute value of the particular element, I need to use get attribute. And if I want to locate a single element, I need to use locator. If I want to locate multiple elements, I can use a double dollar. You have multiple ways. Anyway, I'll tell you with some examples, then you will understand it. So you need to remember this chart or this mapping. Now we need to write examples one by one. Now you need to write examples to check that how you are going to perform actions on different elements. How you are going to perform actions on different elements. How you are going to perform actions on different elements. Is this part clear? So these examples, right, we will see in our next session. Okay, these examples, right, we are going to see in our next session. And then I will write some examples. Then you will easily understand that how you are going to use these methods in your Playwright automation. Okay, so if you are already working, right, and if you already have idea, right, you can easily map these things with your Selenium. In the same way that how you perform actions, how you capture data, and how you are able to select values, right? The same way, we also have few methods here. You are going to use these methods through which you are going to perform action on that particular element. For that, right, we will write a couple of examples on different applications. Then you will easily understand that how you are able to use these methods to perform actions. That we will see in our next class. And another important rule here is in Playwright, right, your practice is very important. Whatever the code snippets that I'm writing in our sessions, you need to follow the same and you need to practice the same on your local machine. Then you will be little bit, you will feel comfortable in writing your Playwright code using JavaScript. Because when I write, right, I know what is right and what is wrong. So I will always write correct code. But once you start writing and once you start practicing it, right, then only you will understand that what was the complexity in writing that code and how you are going to identify if you are getting any errors, how you are going to fix your code if you see any errors during your execution. So that part, right, anyway, we'll see. It is not like a theoretical session. We are majorly concentrating on hands-on. So I will write a couple of examples by performing actions on each type of elements. And then we'll combine everything and we'll automate a scenario. So that is how that we are going to drive. Any questions on today's session, team, people who are in online? If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. It is like, say, today I have explained you about the methods, right? So once we get those methods right, then you will understand. Means how you are going to perform actions using these methods. We will write some code snippets, then you will understand it. But you need to remember, as today's summary, right? You need to remember what you are actually trying to understand how you are locating, what actions that you can perform, and how you are going to perform your validations. So we had seen how you are going to locate, what are different actions. Now we need to also see validations. Then you need to combine all these three. Then only you can write a test case. In Playwright. So we need to see these three. Then we will write a couple of examples. Then you will easily understand that how you are able to write your script using Playwright. Any questions, team? Pratima, Deepika, Ramesh, Anita, any questions on today's session? See, anyway, you will get this recording. So today, right, majorly I have just given you a heads up that what are elements, how do you locate an element. Playwright uses XPath, CSS, and inbuilt locators. And what are different types of elements, and what are different action methods through which you can perform actions on those elements. And in our next session, right, we'll see what are validation methods. And then we will combine all these three and we'll write a test case with we'll write a couple of examples, and you'll easily understand that how you are using these methods to perform actions and validating then you'll easily understand how do you design a test using Playwright, using these locators, actions, and your validation. Any questions? If you have any questions, right, please feel free to ask in your chat window or unmuting it. Or if you need some time, right, you can practice it. And again, if you see anything that you are confusing, right, please let me know in our next session. So that first we'll clear the queries and then we'll get into our actual content. So if you are good, right, then I think so we can wind up session for today. Tomorrow also same time at 9:30.
Thank you.
Thank you.